All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is Thursday, March 31st, 2016. And this is Before the First Cup of Jules here on UCY.TV. Happy Thursday, everybody. It is 53 degrees and raining here in upstate New York. Feels like a nice day to crawl back into bed and take a nappy, which might be what I do a little bit later today. Where do we leave off yesterday? We titled the show Dopamine Inducing Tech, Children, Addiction, and the Fall of Man. And I know that sounds a little dramatic, but it really is the fall of man, because if we are not nurturing our children properly, we're plugging them into the matrix, future generations are going to be bumping into walls and short-circuiting. That's absolutely what we don't want. We looked at a whole bunch of things yesterday, but we ended the show looking at the personality traits that can be revealed by movement. And I mean, this is where we've come to today, being able to not only do things such as pre-crime, which we are starting to see now in all kinds of different cities, but I know Microsoft has their Cyber Patrol Center. We've watched that video a whole bunch of times. And they talk about their pre-crime center. Not only are they watching your bodily actions, TSA, I know that they've been training that type of stuff, and they have surveillance cameras everywhere to look for suspicious behavior, itching your arm or looking at your watch or being sweaty. There were all these different indicators that made you a potential terrorist by eye. Well, now they're doing it by camera. Well, this newest study is also showing mental health signs, so they would be able to diagnose you with mental health issues by personality traits through your movements. So we're going to start here, I think, today and continue on through the stories I had queued up yesterday, because there was a full progression. Personality traits can be revealed by movement. Study shows a pioneering study has revealed how an individual's movement can give a unique insight into their inherent personality traits. The groundbreaking study could open up new pathways for health professionals to diagnose and treat mental health conditions in the future. And remember, we mentioned this at the end of the show as well. Good old Tommy Insel, and I know I mentioned this a lot, but this came as a blip on the radar. It never really got that much of mainstream press. Got a few headlines. This one in particular that I pull up every time I mention it and put in the notes is from the New York Times. And it was there, but nobody really connected the dots at that time. But Tommy Insel, the former director of the National Institute of Mental Health, has gone to work for Google Life Sciences. And he specifically said that he wants to be able to find a way to diagnose mental illness using something like a smartphone app. So here, smartphone app, smart clothing, what's the difference? Wearables are the next generation of computing. They're able to already be able to determine whether or not you have some sort of issue going on upstairs just by your bodily movements. How much of a stretch is it going to be for them to be able to diagnose you by your bodily movements while you're wearing your wearable connected Internet of Things clothing? Your, zippy eye underoos or something. I mean, they're already working on those from that Under Armour and IBM's cognitive computing. Who wants to have smart underwear? I know I don't. The groundbreaking study could open up new pathways for health professionals to diagnose and treat mental health conditions in the future. Yeah, if you have Parkinson's, all you got to do is put a gambling app on your phone and bloop, they'll fix you all up. A team of experts. I don't know, I was digging way into that more dopamine stuff yesterday, and I found some disturbing information in regards to similar experiences that other parents have had with that Minecraft game that I was mentioning yesterday. Apparently, it addicts young children very badly, and just like I was saying, sneaking down the hall and lying and cheating and doing stuff just to get their next fix is not just my isolated problem. So, guys, dopamine is the root of all evil. It's how they are manipulating and getting us to follow without paying attention to what's going on, to any of these merging of man and machine technologies. It is your pleasure chemical. So if every time they push that button, you feel pleasure, they'll be able to suck you right into that big box that's covered with sticky stuff on the bottom so your feet get stuck and you can't get out. Right? I mean, that's how they do roaches. You don't want to be a roach in a box. And I'm telling you, that is what they're doing to us. And now they're going after our children. I mean, they have been going after our children, but they're sucking our children in to normalize this. So this becomes the way of the future. There's no more arguing. And to try and keep those we love away from technology has become just about utterly impossible unless you are Amish. But even the Amish, I don't know if you knew this, but we know some Amish people down in the hills. We kind of made friends with them. They do things for people. They come and build things and stuff, and they're pretty cool. But one thing I didn't know about the Amish is that the Amish can use technology if it's not theirs. So if you hire the Amish to come build you a barn, let's say, and a lot of people do that around here because there's a lot of Amish. I mean, we're right near Pennsylvania. And there's a pretty big population in the southern of New York State as well. If you hire the Amish to come build you a barn, they can use your power tools. You can go pick them up in your truck, and they can all get into the bed of the truck, and you can drive them to the construction site. They can use your phone to call the contractor to make sure he's going to drop off whatever they need. But they can't own it themselves. So joke's on us, because I always thought the Amish had to do everything without technology, but it's a little loophole in religion that says as long as it's not their technology. But besides the Amish, at least they're not on a computer. You know, the Amish don't get vaccinated either, and the Amish has very low incidences, if any at all, of autism. So, you know, if you ever question some of the stuff that we're talking about on this show, look into the Amish a little bit, because they are like the one living example, at least here in the United States, of Luddites, right? We talk about Luddites. Luddites unite! People who shun technology. And I mean, theirs is for religious reasons. I don't know. I never really looked into their one, which I probably should have because they're close by, but I never really looked into any of their books or what they go by. Is it the Bible? I have no idea, so please excuse me. Anyone Amish who is listening to this on a radio that is not their radio, but, you know, they are one good example of a society that has managed to live into the 21st century, be healthy and happy and live long and prosper, and not get sucked into the machine. They're a very good example for me, for my kid. I show them how, look at their farm. They got all these horses and all these cows and all these pigs and all these sheep and all these goats. They have lots and lots and lots. And look, they got 3 properties, and they got 5 acres here and 20 acres here and 3 barns. I mean, they're doing great. We saw them when they all first came in. There was a community, 2 or 3 of them, and they got their friends to come in. They got their little buggies. They go into town to the store. And they're doing great. And they're really pleasant. And the kids are all well behaved. And they all help do chores, and they all learn. This wasn't a show about Amish, but I'm telling you, you know, the more and more I see stuff like this, and then I see what this is doing to our brain. We've talked about the addiction way back when with these mobile devices. And how, I mean, I've seen pictures where people have photoshopped out the mobile devices of a large group of people sitting in a room. And you have this large group of people sitting in a room side by side. Nobody's looking at each other. Nobody's talking to each other. They're just all staring blankly into their palms. I mean, that is a society that is going to be doomed to fail in the future. Nobody's paying attention. People are walking off of cliffs accidentally because they were so absorbed into their device. I just saw the other day it was New Jersey. I think it was New Jersey. New Jersey is looking to pass a law. Who knows if it's going to happen, but looking to pass a law to ban texting while you're walking. Now, if that isn't a testimony to how devolved, dumb, completely, utterly stupid, and really ripe for starting over what's happened to the human society. We got to pass a law to tell us not to text and walk because it's dangerous and we're not paying attention, and we walk out in the middle of the street and get hit by a car, or walk off the edge of a cliff, because that's happened. Walk off a pier and end up in the water. Yes, that's happened too. That is how much this technology has sucked us into the void. And the next step is to upload you into the cloud. This is the purpose of it. And I know it sounds lunatic, but they really, really, really are working on that. That is good old Kurzweil. That's what he's wanted to do for his whole professional life, is to be able to upload himself to the machine so he can become ethereal. All right, let me finish this. It has nothing to do with personality or traits, but it does kind of from technology. Dotted line. All right, back to this. Personality traits can be revealed by movement. This new study suggests that each person has an individual motor signature, a blueprint of the subtle differences in the way they move compared to someone else, such as speed or weight of movement, for example. And using a plain mirror game in which two players are asked to imitate each other's movements, the team showed that people who have similar movements will tend to display more organized collective behavior. So if you're a drone and you act like everybody else, then you two will work together much better than if two dissimilar people are put into a room and told to get at it. It doesn't happen. I mean, it might happen, but after much argumentation. The team, which also includes experts from the University of Bristol, Montpellier University, and the University of Naples, Federico II. I wonder who Federico II is. He probably was a king. Believes that these findings indicate that people with comparable movement blueprints will therefore find it easier to coordinate with each other during interpersonal interactions. And that is pretty common sense. The team also believes that a person's way of moving and how they interact with others could give an insight into their mental health conditions, so pave the way for their personalized predictions, diagnosis, and or treatment in the future. So let's not only give up our DNA swab to 23andMe, but let's do a 24-hour movement collection just to see how you're doing there, Johnny, mentally. We'll turn on your Xbox or Kinect's little camera that tracks all your movements in the living room. Don't worry about it. You won't even know we're doing it. It's painless. And we'll give you your assessment. Oh, what? You don't have a camera? Well, you know what? Hey, we got you already. When you went to the store yesterday, we were watching you walking around that grocery store, and you had these jerky movements. That means you're hiding something. Time for you to get interrogated. I mean, honestly, I could see so many right turns that would take us down a dark, dank, scary hallway to a room with soundproofing with this technology. Every scary mental health facility movie you ever saw where they had them locked up somewhere. And I mean, even go through the past of what happened at mental institutions. And there's one here south of a city that's right between Buffalo and Rochester, Cuppatavia. And I don't remember. Rolling Hills, I think, was the name of the sanatorium. sanatorium, whichever. I've seen it called both. And they do ghost hunting there now. And it's huge. This place is absolutely huge. It just is this big, massive facility that is long since closed. Somebody bought it, and they open it up for tours and stuff. But there were all kinds of bodies just buried in the backyard, and that's what they did. You know, they did all kinds of horrific experiments on these people. And if you remember, a lot of them had to do with like electroshock therapy, frontal lobotomies, all kinds of very barbaric brain research. And what frightens me about this stuff is that if you've been following the show for any length of time, you know that we spend a lot of time looking at the brain, looking at this global brain project and Obama's brain initiative and DARPA and implants and all this mad science gone mad that's really coming to the forefront here, spending all kinds of taxpayer dollars on. You know, of course, it's going to cure disease if we understand how the brain works. But in the meantime, they need patience. In the meantime, they also need to have a population that they can point to and say, oh, look, you're defective goods. You know, they have to have a way to take people like you and me, who are what they call resistant consumers, people who don't want to buy into the crap they're trying to sell us, who are very happy with their own faculties and don't need to be augmented with any type of wearable computing or implantables or contact lenses that connect me 24/7 to the cloud or nanobots in my brain that Kurzweil wants to launch in my bloodstream. I'm just fine the way I am. Thank you very much. But see, we're a problem. And as you see the story spin, I just saw another story where they took some woman, called her a terrorist, and then added to it that she was, an anti-vaxxer, and she believed in chemtrails. I mean, they're demonizing anyone who is calling out any of these things that have been exposed that the system is trying to pull right now. And if they can keep dumping enough dirt and making you look like a tinfoil hat-wearing lunatic, we will all be mental cases in the future. The masses are all going to be standing there with pitchforks to burn us like witches. And, you know, I was just talking about this with my mom the other day. You know, the people they burned as witches were probably the old ladies who lived in the woods who knew how to use all the herbal remedies to cure you of your ills. They were the ones who figured out how to use all the cures that nature provides us for medicine. But back in those days, it was hoodoo voodoo. It wasn't real science. There was no science. So if they could give you something, some potion they mixed up, and it could do things to you, they must be witches. Burn them at the stake. I mean, history repeats itself, people, and this is exactly what is happening. The Inquisition is coming, and they're going to put us into places like mental institutions in the name of science for our own safety, and then try to fix us. It's horrifying. Run away screaming. Become Amish. I'm going to start a Become Amish movement. Luddites unite. All right. Anyway, the team, I read that already. The Professor Kazmira Testira Estevanov, who specializes in mathematics at healthcare at the University of Exeter, said that although human involvement has been well studied, what is less far well understood is the differences that each of us displays when we move, whether it is faster or lighter or smoother. For example, this study shows that people who move in a certain way will also react in similar ways when they are performing joint tasks. Essentially, our movements give an insight into our inherent personality traits. And what we demonstrate is that people typically want to react and interact with people who are similar to themselves. Ding, 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 ding. We will be the outcasts. And they're going to be able to tell. You're not going to be able to lie about it because they're going to have these behavioral analytics that'll be able to determine whether or not you've embraced the machine mentally, whether or not you're walking around acting guarded, or if you're walking around seeming like you're telling the truth. I mean, I just see so many horrifying implications to this. And then, add to that, the part of good old Tommy Incel, one of the things he talked about, one of the stories we read way back, was how your voice and voice inflection has already been used without the smart app part, but now it should be pretty easy to put it into a smart app, has already been used to diagnose different illnesses. I believe it's schizophrenia is one of them. And it has to do with how disjointed the sentences are when you speak and how much each sentence doesn't have to do with each other. The more diverse the sentences are in a paragraph, let's say, from topic to topic, the farther away they are, the more apt you are to have something such as schizophrenia. So it's not a real big stretch of the imagination to have a smart app that could start diagnosing things that way either. So between you talking and you moving, short of standing still and not even blinking, I think it would be pretty difficult to hide what you believe and what you're thinking. And especially for people like me, who tend to have a hard time playing poker because my eyebrows always give me away. I always have some facial expression going, especially if I disagree, and I'm really trying to hold back, opening my mouth, because as you can tell, it's pretty difficult for me. People like me are going to have a real issue with this. Anyway, let's finish this last paragraph. But what our study also shows is that movement gives an indication of a person's behavioral characteristics. This could therefore be used in the future to help diagnose patients with certain conditions by studying how they move and react to others. All right. So, I don't know, bookmark that one. That's all I can say, because I have a feeling that some of this stuff we read about it and then we find out that it's already been in practice, or they've already been doing something experimentally and they're getting ready to roll it out. Now, we read yesterday about a literary competition in Japan. For the very first time, we have a novel written by an AI that actually was passable enough to make it through the first round of the competition. I think we actually read this whole story yesterday, but what I wanted to point out is that AI is coming way faster, and we've said this so many times, way faster than anything that they have let on. And there was a story that came out yesterday to illustrate that fact. So we got these robots writing stories using creativity, being in the finals with humans. And they didn't have to distinguish, by the way, when they put their story into the competition as to whether or not it was written by a human or an AI. But check this out. Bringing big neural networks to self-driving cars, smartphones, and drones. And remember, AI was kind of like step one. Neural networks are kind of like step two. And this is not just having a computer thinking and teaching itself and evolving. We talked about all that yesterday. But then we have the neural networks that are taking the AI and having it utilize layers for deep learning. And this is where we found out Google has a deep learning project. Microsoft has a deep learning project. IBM has its full cognitive computing Watson. And the deep learning is done by taking this exponential law of return, something that we've talked about quite a number of times. I have a Kurzweil clip that we're going to play today. I've been trying to play it for the last couple of days. I got it queued up. The exponential law of returns, where when we have technology, come up with a conclusion, got an answer, we plug that back into the computer to get another answer now using more variables, and then get another answer. And then they put it in a third layer and work some more mojo on the number with the computer and then come out with another answer. And as this computer generated intelligence is generating intelligence, and we plug that intelligence back into the machine to generate more intelligence, it comes to the point where it's thinking like the human brain. And we dug pretty deep the one day into how neural networks work in regards to the one Microsoft is building. And it's pretty frightening. So when you start seeing the Brain Project, Obama's Brain Initiative, all the stuff they're doing in DARPA's end of things, you got that stentrode, I think it was called. It was a stent that can actually go up into your artery and connect direct to neurons and read thoughts in your brain. We have this behavioral monitoring, being able to determine whether or not you have mental illness just by the way you move. Guys, freedom, for any freedom that we thought we lost by having costume thugs on the street pepper spraying 18-year-old protesters, beating them with batons, or did you just see the one guy? I couldn't even believe the headline. They shot, I think it was in Texas, a mentally ill man on his knees with a fork. They shot him. For as much freedom as we've complained, thought we lost in the past, it's about to get a lot worse. And now this is like the silent invasion. We complained about police brutality, and I told you guys a long time ago, careful what you ask for. We made a big deal about these cops who couldn't keep that trigger finger off the trigger. Itchy. Accidentally, whoops, shooting people. Whoops, wrong guy in bed. Whoops. Well, you know what? It ends up that we couldn't fix the problem of police brutality, so we're going to give you a K5 unit. Got them already running in California. These little K5 units are programmed to protect and serve, and they got 230-point facial recognition. They have license plate readers so they can track all your comings and goings, as well as audio. So they'll record everything you say. Infrared. It just goes on and on. Cops right now, I think they're in with the good guys. They're in with the people who are going to be in control. I'm going to tell you, they won't be. In the future, they won't be. It's going to be robot monitors, surveillance cameras, 24/7. How many trillion pixels do we read about? Trillion pixel drones flying overhead, filming everything in a real-time data center so they can zoop forward, backwards in time and see where everybody went. They could zoom way in all the way down to the ground so they could see a fly on the end of your nose. Well, now let's add to that some autonomy. Bringing big neural networks to self-driving cars, smartphones, and drones. This is from March 28, 2016. Engineers out of IEEE. Engineers are trying to squeeze out AI into mobile systems. Artificially intelligent systems based on neural networks have had quite a string of recent successes. One, and we talked about this a bunch of times, beat a human master at the game of Go. Another one made up beer reviews. I missed that one, especially since I have a page that's called Beer and Politics, and it posts videos on Trump, Clinton, and Obama, as well as 4 of the beer review guys that I pay attention to. So it's kind of funny. I'd love to find the AI beer reviews. And another one made psychedelic art, and yeah, that was some of that Google AI dream sequencing. If you've never seen that, that's pretty horrifying. It looks like a Google AI took acid. But taking these supremely complex and power hungry systems out into the real world and installing them into portable devices is no easy feat. And by the way, we talked about AI chatbot Tay, Microsoft's Taybot that they launched on Twitter last week, and she went up and she came down in 24 hours because she became a Nazi loving sex bot or something. She was learning from all the input that people were typing at her, and of course they were going out of their way to make sure that they had her say things like 9/11 was an inside job, and they had to take her down. I saw something yesterday that they accidentally activated, and I'm putting quotations marks around accidentally activated Tay again, and she turned into a psychedelic stoner, is what it said. And they had to take her down again. They just flipped her off. So I don't know. Keep an eye on that. But it's coming, people. They even, so Microsoft released a chatbot code now for programmers. So you can build some AI into chatbots. I don't know. I was thinking about playing with that just so we can maybe have our own little AI chatbot for UCY to play with and see how badly we could corrupt it. Start to find the holes. Might be kind of fun. I don't know. I dropped it to Paul to see if he has time. It might be a fun little project. But anyway, back to the story. So taking these supremely complex and power-hungry systems out into the real world and installing them in portable devices is no easy feat. This February, however, at the IEEE International Solid State Circuit Conference in San Francisco, teams from MIT, NVIDIA, and the Korean Advanced Institute of Science and Technology brought that goal closer. Well, interesting that NVIDIA is working with MIT and Korea. NVIDIA made chips for video cards doing 3D and graphic acceleration. They were pretty decent chipsets. So look at more tech companies just being sucked into the fold. It says they showed off their prototypes of low-power chips that are designed to run artificial neural networks that could, among other things, give smartphones a bit of a clue. Making intelligent smartphones, guys. Smartphones a bit of a clue about what they are seeing and allow self-driving cars to predict pedestrians' movements. Ding, ding, ding. Look it. This is behavioral monitoring, predicting your movements, predicting behavior. This, guys, this is so Orwellian. I think Orwell would fall off a couch if he read what was going on now. Until now, neural networks, learning systems that operate analogously to networks of connected brain cells, have been much too energy intensive to run on mobile devices that would most benefit from artificial intelligence, like smartphones, small robots, and drones. And you know, I was doing a big cleanup of some of the Pigmine playlists over the last few days. There was some issues back from 2 channels ago that had just migrated on to here that I had to clean up to the tune of a few thousand videos I had to sort. And it's all done now, though. It took about 10 hours when I'm done. But I ran across a video that had talked about self-learning drones and drones that taught themselves. And they were ones that they had developed for the military to use in urban warfare. Which, you know, if you pay attention to what's going on right then, at the time, it was for Iraq, quote unquote. They were going to use it in Iraq in urban warfare settings where there's lots of insurgents. But tomorrow, it's going to be a burned out cities of Detroit, places of that nature. But they already have drones that were starting to learn on their own. Well, now they're saying, hey, this would be the best benefit ever. Mobile AI chips could also improve the intelligence of self-driving cars without draining their batteries or compromising their fuel economy. Right. Those self-driving cars that are going to be able to predict pedestrians' movements so then they can determine 100% if they careen into the crowd versus slamming you into the wall because the tractor trailer pulled out in front of you. They will be able to predict 100% whether or not those pedestrians would get out of the way or they die, so they could determine to kill you or not instead of killing the pedestrians. I mean, how convenient is that? We have smart chips in our cars soon that'll be able to decide with no question whether or not it's better to kill you or the pedestrian. Like, I just have such problems with that. Don't ever get into a self-driving car. It is not there to protect you. It's doing algorithms to determine who should survive and who is more likely to survive. These mobile AI chips could also improve the intelligence of self-driving cars without draining their batteries or compromising fuel economy. And smartphone processors are on the verge of running some powerful neural networks as software. You know, we've talked about this too. Like in the past, we always wanted more power, more power. We need more CPU. We need more memory. And for the last 20 years of my life, that's what it was. Every time the new machine came out, we were upgrading because faster, better, we could do more things. It's come to the point now where we are just about where, except for the kludgy issues that you get where all your software breaks now, I don't have issues running most of my applications on a decent couple $100 PC. I can run my Photoshop. I can run my editing, audio editing, my video editing software. I mean, I'm not doing a 2-hour movie, but I most certainly can edit a 2-hour program with some images in it and let it render for a few hours. I mean, I'm not lacking for speed or technology. And it's just about at that point to be able to run a neural network software on your little cell phone. How is that even possible? I mean, that's how small it's getting. And, we think about our cell phones as being the end all, but don't forget they got all these nanobots that are already in the lab, full of experiments, thinking, self-replicating, and being able to do things that they've instructed it to do. What's going to happen when we have AI, neural network DNA nanobots, where we can load a little program to run with edited DNA, let's say? I don't know. How would it even run? It would have to be like ATP in the cell, the energy. I don't know. Do cells even think? I don't know. We'll have to think about that one. How would we make nanobots artificially intelligent? I mean, I'm sure that they could put, just like we put a brain implant into us, why couldn't they put a little AI brain implant into a nanobot? Especially a biological nanobot, DNA based. Anyway, let's finish the story because I want to get to Kurzweil so we can get into these nanobots. Qualcomm is sending its next generation Snapdragon smartphone processor to the handset makers as we speak, with a software development kit to implement automatic image labeling using a neural network. We talked about that. They used not only YouTube, but also the Google knowledge base that's being used for the truth algorithm to be able to train the Google AI to recognize images and identify them. So look, now we're going to use this SDK to be able to implement image recognition on a cell phone. How convenient is that going to be for surveillance and in the future for behavioral monitoring? Look in the camera, please. Don't have a poker face. Make sure you smile. And then they're running it through the mental health tool. It's just, I don't even know what to say anymore. My brain just goes absolutely nuts when I read about technology because I've always been what they would, I guess you'd call a futurist. I've always been about the future until I realized that this was going to the dark, scary room, not to the bright white room with all the doors of possibility. I don't see any way out of this. I mean, I really don't. And those Amish, the Amish might be an oddity for now, but I think at some point in the future, the Amish are also going to be targeted. Remember, they are pockets of quote unquote potential disease because they didn't get the vaccines. And I don't think they're going to let them live forever like that. They're a bad example to those of us who don't want to go into the machine. Anyway, this software-focused approach using neural networks on a cell phone is a landmark, but it has its limitations. For one thing, the phone's application can't learn anything new by itself. No, but don't forget, we had all this hive mind learning, Baxter robot being able to learn and then upload it to the cloud so anything else that was connected to that cloud could download the learning and have that same knowledge. And I could see that very easily with your cell phone. They're already taking your contacts and uploading them to your cloud storage. So if you ever switch phones, you don't lose anything. Wouldn't be that difficult to do. Says it can't learn anything new by itself. It can only be trained by much more powerful computers. And neural network experts think that more sophisticated functions will be possible if they can bake neural net friendly features into the circuits themselves. Well, don't worry about that one because they brought Intel right into the fold. Intel had been working with NASA for a long time, so you know that was only a matter of time. But Intel is totally into the game now, working with the military and DARPA and doing all kinds of crazy shit in with all the big tech companies, locking down the processors so you can only have Windows 10 or better running with the CPU in that computer. I mean, they're part of the machine now. The larger a neural network is, the more computational layers it has. This is what we were talking about with the layers for deep learning. And the more energy it takes to run, which of course makes sense, says Vivienne Aziz, an electrical engineering professor at MIT. No matter what the application, the main drain on power is the transfer of data between processor and memory. And you can see that with your phone. Every time you have an application running for more than 10 minutes, you see your battery get sucked dry. Even when I run the radio app, it sucks me dry pretty fast without being plugged in. And this is a particular problem for convolutional neural networks, which are used for image analysis. So, I don't know. The story goes on really long. I was just in that 2045 Facebook transhumanist news group yesterday, and the top story was about this new optic processing unit, OPU, something like that they were calling it. I don't know. It was late. It was probably like 2 a.m, and I was kind of hazy-eyed by that point, but I was reading about it. There are some optical units that are coming that have their own processing systems and everything that they could plug into a computer to give it eyes. And, soon it's going to be eyes and nose. We're going to have that nasal ranger. Remember that? The nasal ranger connected to your PC. Make sure it's detecting any contrabands. All right. Let's continue on here to the next few stories so we can get through a bunch of these because I want to do something a little bit different tomorrow. I have some other stuff we want to look at long term. We saw the other day that Oculus Rift that's going to be able to give you free VR porn with the Pornhub and your Mick Google goggles, owned by Facebook, mind you, and Zuckerberg. They had started shipping their very first 3D goggles last week. Well, Microsoft was not too far behind. Saw a story yesterday about pay attention because 360-degree holograms are coming with Microsoft's HoloLens, and you can have this hologram and zoom it down and zoom it up, and you won't even be able to tell whether or not it's real. Well, Microsoft aims at computing platforms of the future. Microsoft made a pitch on yesterday, to developers to stay with the U.S. tech giant, saying it remains a force in future technologies such as artificial intelligence and augmented reality. Chief Executive Satya Nadella highlighted Microsoft's advances with its HoloLens augmented reality goggles. Its Cortana virtual assistant, yes, she will be the one embedded in your brain, and its progress in cloud computing. So then we can just upload ourselves. This means that Microsoft is a force to be reckoned with, even though it has lagged behind rivals like Apple and Google in powering its mobile devices. For us, mobile is not about mobility of any device. It is the mobility of the human experience across all devices and all the computing in our lives. Ding, ding, ding. Now, look at how telling that sentence is. If you were just a dumb end user, it wouldn't mean much to you. Oh, how wonderful. Microsoft is going to make sure that my life is easy, so my mobile phone, my PC, my car all work nicely together. But let's read this again. For us, mobile first is not about the mobility of any single device. It is the mobility of the human experience, i.e. you are part of the Internet of Things across all devices and all the computing in our lives. And we're going to connect you to the machine. The cloud is not a single destination. The cloud is a new form of computing that, in fact, enables that mobility of experiences across all of our devices. And we're going to upload you there at some point in the future. The company said it's Windows 10 operating system, which we're going to force on you so we can surveil everything you do. And you're going to have that movement biometrics. You know, that's interesting, too, because they'll be able to diagnose mental illness by your movements. But one of the biometrics, I think it was called something Hello, was the security program for Windows 10. I posted some stuff about that last week, but we haven't gotten to that yet. They use bodily movements and finger clickies and how you do things to identify you, because we all do things a little bit differently. The company said its Windows 10 operating system, which can be tied together with a range of devices, including PCs, phones, and tablets, now has 270 million users. Windows 10 is off to an amazing start. Yay. Microsoft has set a goal of having the operating system in use on more than 1 billion with a B devices by 2018. And looking ahead at the HoloLens, the Windows update that is coming will also step up the use of biometrics for authentication. Ding, ding, there we go. By allowing users to log into computers and their applications with fingerprints, improving security and moving away from passwords. And it's way more than fingerprints. Yeah, fingerprints we're kind of used to, at least from the police. But there's the behavioral analytics that they're using as well. Looking ahead with HoloLens, Microsoft also said on Wednesday that it began its first shipments of HoloLens augmented reality headgear. So there you go. Got to keep up with those Facebook Joneses. So we got Oculus Rift and HoloLens all shipping within a week of each other, staking its place in what is expected to be an emerging computing platform. And that's what Zuckerberg said. All your new tech experiences are going to be happening in your VR goggles. Don't pay attention to what is going on in the world. Get sucked into the machine and let us have access to your optic nerve. Don't do it, people. Don't even try it once. It's addictive. It would be like doing cocaine once or twice. Microsoft and Facebook are the crack pushers. Once you get sucked in, and you know what? I'm going to tell you, these will probably be pretty expensive in the beginning because they'll make their $1-2. But as Christmas comes along, that price point is going to plummet to make sure that they get every Joe Schmo in their VR goggles watching the fight or the NASCAR races. It's happening. This is going to happen. HoloLens is being delivered to application developers, with Microsoft opting for augmented reality rather than virtual reality in devices such as Oculus Rift and Facebook. And that'll be for another show, looking at the difference between augmented and virtual reality. Here we go. While virtual reality is fully immersive, the partially immersive augmented reality allows users to multitask via virtual images superimposed on their normal field of view. So, like in the future, on your windscreen, I would imagine, of your car while you're driving, and you could see, there's the weather up in the corner and whether or not you have messages, but you could still see out the window and drive before the self-driving car takes over and tells you that you're driving too slow. At the conference, U.S. tech giant Microsoft showed off some of the possibilities for HoloLens, such as giving users a view of Mars that could only up until now be seen by space vehicles, as well as an inside view of the brain and by medical specialists aiming to deal with a brain tumor. Let's show you real-time brain surgery in this HoloLens, aiming to encourage new applications. And then we also saw the hologram yesterday. Aiming to encourage new applications for the device, Microsoft noted that developers can create a new mixed reality. Yes, mixed reality, because it'll be better than the one you live in now with their new goggles. And they unveiled their HoloLens goggles back a year ago as rivals of Oculus Rift were moving into virtual reality. Developer editions will be available for $3,000 for application makers, and one of the partners with the HoloLens is NASA. Oh, go figure. Which uses HoloLens to help users move about as if they are on Mars and figure out where they want the rover to go. Oh, rover, don't roll over. Oh, rover, don't roll over. All right, let's see. My computer is starting to get buggy, but we'll see if we can get the video to load, because otherwise I'm going to have to sing for the end of the show. Oh, this really pisses me off. Doot. All right. Let's see if at least I can connect Skype. And if I can get that far, maybe you can watch the video. My computer is acting like its memory is getting sucked dry, but I did nothing except read stories. Oh, let's connect. Oh, Leo. Everything is frozen. Everything is frozen. Oh, this is so frustrating because everything is frozen. I think they do this on purpose. My computer cannot. This is out of all the machines here, like the one I'm broadcasting on right now that my first Skype is connected to has got to be a 12-year-old machine, and it's not having any issues whatsoever. And this one that I'm doing links on right now is less than a year old. It has nothing on it. Oh, there we go. And we get, a few minutes before the end of the show, and every day right about this time, it starts to do kludgy stuff, but not every single day. Every other day, 2 or 3. All right, so here's a clip. I wanted to play it. We got about 3 minutes, so maybe it'll get through. Inventor, good old Inventor. And look, he's got his Grecian formula hair. He's looking so young. The poster boy for curing death as a disease. Ray Kurzweil, inventor Ray Kurzweil sees immortality in our future from PBS NewsHour.
And now to another in our brief but spectacular series. Tonight we hear from inventor and futurist Ray Kurzweil about immortality and the exponential growth of technology. Since 2012, Kurzweil has been a director of engineering at Google.
Our immediate reaction to death is that it's a tragedy, and that's really the correct reaction. We've rationalized it, saying, oh, that tragic thing that's looming, that's actually a good thing. But now we can actually seriously talk about a scenario where we will be able to extend our longevity indefinitely. I decided to become an inventor when I was 5, bring back broken bicycles and radios. This was an era where you would allow a 5-year-old to roam through the neighborhood and do this. And I had this idea, if I could just figure out how to put all these things together, I could solve any problem. So I wrote a program that could recognize the patterns in melodies from famous composers and write original music. So I went on this show, I've Got a Secret, hosted by Steve Allen.
My name is Raymond Kurzweil, and I'm from Queens, New York. Queens, New York.
And my secret was I'd built and programmed a computer that composed the music. I created a program that could recognize printed letters in any type font and created a reading machine for the blind. Probably the most important theme I've talked about is the exponential growth of information technology. Price, performance, and capacity of information technology progresses predictably and exponentially. It doubles every period of time. So this little computer is actually billions of times more powerful per dollar than the computer I used when I was an undergraduate. We'll do that again the next 25 years. So we'll have computers the size of blood cells, little robotic devices that can go through our bloodstream. Its capability thousands or millions fold by connecting to the cloud. That's a 2030 scenario. We've been expanding our life expectancy for thousands of years. It was 19 1,000 years ago. It's 37 in 1800. We're going to get to a point 10, 15 years from now where we're adding more time than is going by to our remaining life expectancy. People say, oh, I don't want to live past 90, but I talk to 90-year-olds and they definitely want to live to 91 and to 100. People sometimes say that death gives meaning to life because it makes time short, but actually death is a great robber of meaning, of relationships, of knowledge. We're going to be able to overcome disease and aging. Most of our thinking will be non-biological. That'll be backed up. So if part of it gets wiped away, you can recreate it, and we'll be able to extend our lives indefinitely. I'd rather use that word than forever. My name is Ray Kurzweil, and this is my brief but spectacular take on our exponential future.
And you can watch more brief but spectacular episodes on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/newshour.
And there you go. We'll be able to download Nana from the cloud and roll out her avatar at Christmas time to have dinner with her at the table. All right, guys, make sure you stick around. That interview gave me chills. It is Thursday. Mr. Kevin Blanche is live up next. And tonight, live at 7 p.m., we have Ron with Game On. This week's show of Behind the Woodshed with Hal Anthony and Anti-Media Radio with SM Gibson, 2-hour edition at 10. All right, guys, have an awesome Thursday. I will catch up with you soon.